So, we want to remind the audience to be sure that your cell phones are off or on silent. We want to remind you that it is a non-smoking establishment. Emergency exits are at the front and the rear of the auditorium. And of course, we want to welcome you to the Ritz Civic Center, and we hope we have a very constructive evening. Thanks to all of our council candidates too for coming. So here we go. Are you ready? First question. What is your opinion of long-term strategic planning as it might apply to the city of Blytheville? And if you believe such planning is important, how would you initiate the development of a community strategic plan? Ms. White, you will be the first to respond. I'm glad to repeat any questions if you so desire.
I certainly believe in a strategic plan. In fact, that was one of my first action items when I came on the city council. In order to create a strategic plan, you have to have all the participants who are going to be affected by it. And so you got to have, in Blytheville, you got to have farmers, you got to have businesses, you got to have all citizens that are represented. You got to have all entities, private, public, nonprofit, religious organizations, youth, senior citizens. All of them have to play a part in the initial planning. It will not work if everybody that is affected by your plan is not a part of the planning and the implementation. So it's very vital. If you don't know where, if you don't know where you're going, you're subject to go all over the place. So the city has not had a 5-year plan, and it is necessary in order to build from where we are. You have to have a 5-year plan.
Thank you. Mr. Abbott?
I definitely think a long-term strategic plan is vital for us to go forward. It's similar to a ship that doesn't have a rudder. The ship will just go whichever way that the wind catches it or the currents catch it. If it doesn't have a rudder, and so I think that it is vitally important. I think a lot of times that in business and in which the city is a business, that a lot of times we have a tendency to just kind of wait and see where it goes, and when we run into problems, we decide to just try to throw some money at it and try to fix it and bring it back to where it needs to be. But I believe that as we begin to lay out plans, and not only do we need to involve the citizens in that, but I think probably even more vital than that is that we involve the department leaders and the department heads coming together, and that's one of the things I intend to do the very first few days, is to spend time with each one of those guys, find out exactly what goes on in their departments, and sit down with them and develop a short-term plan, long-term plan, and a very long-term plan. I think sometimes we need to even look a little further out than what I would consider, I guess, within one administration. I think we need to look beyond that, even though potentially as a candidate we don't have that to look forward to, but I think that we need to go ahead and be making those plans for the city of Blytheville anyway. And so I think that in conjunction with those department leaders, each one of them for their department, putting together a strategic plan, certainly bringing together community leaders and people within the community to help to develop that, because certainly they're the ones that are going to be affected by any strategic planning that we put into place. I would definitely want to put together some kind of a coalition of community leaders that would be instrumental in helping to develop that long-term strategic plan. And I'll give you the minute back.
Mr. Sanders.
Well, again, the key term here we're talking about is strategic. One of the things that we've got to understand is that in that we have to start considering those goals. We must stop and evaluate first. We have to evaluate exactly where we want to go in our city. Growth is fine, but projected growth is better. We can't just depend on getting businesses, and I've heard it said several times before that, okay, I believe in growth and I want to see the city grow and I want it to grow in this way and that way. But we've got to start looking at it exactly through our evaluations about where we're trying to grow and where the city's going. We need to develop new ways of looking at other forms of resources that we already have and not just totally depend on the single resources that we have done as we have in the past. Over years, as I've even worked with the city of Blytheville before, there has been situations where we've only been dependent upon one single industry, one single thing. But we have a diverse group of people that live here in our community. So therefore, we should also go outside that box and start looking for new and diverse ways of actually trying to employ, educate, and to make that plan, well, make that grow. Some of those on short-range plans is that we need to involve ourselves in education. We need to also outreach and see what it is that we need to do as far as getting new development or new growth to come to our community. It's almost like courting someone. You first need to find out a little bit about it, and then after then you go out and seek and start trying to get that in here. So I believe in that we do need a strategic plan, but as it's already been stated to sit down and to talk with all of the members inside the city government, not just there, but also outside, and develop a plan with our county government, and to also talk to people in our state legislature. Legislation is going to be the direction that we're going to have to need in order to get those into, or to get that into our city.
Ms. Hawkins can wave those signs, can't she? Thank you, thank you. Okay, Mr. Abbott, this will be your question first. Step by step, how will you reduce the racial tension